I know a lot of people love Airbnb, and gosh, I don't like Airbnb or VRBO specifically because of this hidden camera stuff. I've never been a fan of it, Forrest. And do you absolutely use any of these things?
I don't personally have Airbnb accounts. I definitely have friends and family that use it. But yeah, it's a weird area where it's like you're going into somebody else's house kind of thing.
Yeah.
I definitely like the hotel approach a lot more, but I can see why people would opt for it.
I mean, imagine if you are staying in an Airbnb or a VRBO and you find a hidden camera. It's not just a negative experience, but it's also a violation of the terms of service, and it could even be a criminal act. Yeah. I mean, that on top of it. And Forrest, what's challenging with Airbnb when you read their terms of service is their rules. They have to be followed, and the hosts have to follow these rules. And the disclosure rules are not consistent between these services. So when and where they disclose where the camera's located at, or if they even have cameras in their environment, that's the challenge right now. Because, Forrest, a lot of these people, these hosts, they can just show you a camera in the listing photo and they've met the definition. They could just say it in the safety features or the amenities section. Oh, we have cameras for your protection. All right, we install these cameras.
Yeah. In my opinion, internal cameras shouldn't even be necessary.
No, not at all.
I mean, it's going to be pretty evident if they're breaking things or stealing stuff, whatever. They make the argument, well, we need to be able to see how many people are staying there. And it's like, well, you can still determine that with an external camera, any camera that's watching entrance, exit. Why, like, come on. Like, do you really need to be able to watch what people are doing inside?
But I have to protect my property, man.
I mean, above all, like, creeper's going to creep, right? Like, people aren't going to, if somebody is scummy enough to do this, they're not going to care about terms of service. Maybe they'll care about, getting charges pressed, but I don't know. In my opinion, a lot of these are operating off of Wi-Fi. So if you're particularly paranoid about running into these devices, maybe if you do have access to the wireless router, disconnect it. Maybe bring your own router that you can hook up if you really do need Wi-Fi there.
So before we get too deep into lessons learned and what you can do about it, and that's a good point, unplug the Wi-Fi router. I got to share a story with you, and the story is I had a friend who stayed in a VRBO, I believe it was. And she brought a dog with her, and the dog was not permitted. They were not allowed to have animals in the VRBO. Yep. And she didn't know that there were cameras inside the house. And she gets an email from the owner of the host. And he says, hey, I noticed you had a pet. And she's like, how? How did you know that I had a pet? And come to find out, the security cameras were installed in the smoke detectors, and that's how they found. So the rooms had 2 smoke detectors, and that was like her warning sign, like, holy crap, this is really happening to me, that I am now going to be charged a pet cleanup fee, and they're also going to have more issues because you're violating my safety and my security. So, all right. So here, folks, what can you do about it, right? If you're going to use these Airbnbs and VRBOs, no problem. Just be aware of it. Couple steps. Forrest mentioned the most important step is unplug the Wi-Fi. And if you need the Wi-Fi, that's understandable. But here's what typically happens. When you unplug that Wi-Fi, the host may end up calling you and saying, hey, why did you unplug the Wi-Fi? And he may or may not say it, but hey, did you know all the cameras are hooked up into the Wi-Fi network, and that's how he's spying on you? So that's one step you can take. Another step that's recommended is taking photos upon arrival. I know that you have the photos from the website, but you should also take your own photos of all the rooms and be looking for things that look out of place. What are some other steps, Forrest?
Looking for things like infrared LEDs.
Yes.
Sometimes you can see these on a camera that you wouldn't normally be able to see. They'll activate under low light conditions. So yeah, if you can take a camera around and look for that flood of infrared light, that's a good one.
So close all the curtains is one way to do it, and then turn on the flashlight on your phone, or bring a flashlight and shine it around and look for that red light. That'll help you identify where it's at in the environment.
Yeah. And also just, I guess, getting a little more familiar with the different types of hidden surveillance devices, whether it's cameras or microphones. I mean, these things can be hidden in all kinds of stuff. What looks like a normal phone charger, like you mentioned, the smoke detectors.
Yeah,
I've seen
alarm clocks.
alarm
on
clock.
that.
Yeah.
I would also mention, I saw one the other day on Amazon. It's a camera that was inside of a screw. Okay, they actually sell them on Amazon now. $16 for this camera that's inside of a screw. So it's a challenge for you to stay ahead of what are the newest types of cameras. The other thing that you can do is get a bug detector, and that's like $49. It's a worthy investment, and they do work. They're RF detectors. They'll look for that stuff in your environment, but that's only half the story. You still have to do these other activities in your host environment. So
yeah, and a lot of this is also assuming that these devices are operating over Wi-Fi. Some of them can just operate and record to an SD card for review later. So, I mean, yeah, it's a battle, that's for sure.
It is for sure.